With YouTube attacking alternative media, please consider supporting the channel via Patreon for just $1 per month. Link below. But speaking of big movies that have come out in the past and that have sequels coming down the pipeline, Avatar is one that's coming out here in the next couple years, and Cameron is saying he can't afford to screw it up. And that's a very true statement, right? If anything, Cameron is I think maybe understanding the entire process of what happened with Avatar. Now, Avatar at this point is just over 8 years old. When it released in December of 2009, no one, I don't think, expected it to have the impact that it would on cinema. And I'm not talking through characters or story development or anything else, but technology. The fact that it was the highest grossing 3D movie of 2010. In fact, I do believe it accounted for 72%, and I could be wrong, but it's definitely up there in that high amount. 72% of all 3D ticket sales in 2010 were from Avatar. And as a result of that, that's why you saw that big push from 2011 to about 2015 of everything being 3D all the time. And no one liked it because it was just half the time done really horribly. But that was a big thing at the time. So here he's talking about how he doesn't want to screw up the sequels. And he's got his 4 sequels that he's talking about here. And he says, it doesn't matter how much you dress it up with great production design and great visual effects. If the story is not working, if you don't connect to the characters, it's simply not going to work. And he's right. Now, Cameron is a very adept storyteller. I mean, Terminator 2, I thought were just excellent tales. The Abyss is awesome. True Lies is one of my favorite movies. I mean, True Lies is a movie that, like, I loved so much. I bought the novelization of and read that multiple times, like, because I just loved the story. You got, Titanic it's a good story. Not my favorite thing in the world, but it's a good story. Visually awesome. But I really enjoyed his work on Avatar, just not the story. The story was essentially Dances with Wolves meets Ferngully meets Pocahontas. I mean, it was trope after trope after trope after trope with a whole bunch of Papyrus, right? Just a whole bunch of Papyrus that was that was strewn about everywhere. But I maybe because it's been 8 years since the release of the movie, and he's been working on Avatar now for close to 20 years. There was an article from 1999 after he won those 11 Oscars for Titanic, where he basically said he's working on Avatar, but the technology wasn't there yet. I mean, this is nearly 20 years, and of course, 10 years after that is when the first movie came out. So he's been building up this world, but I don't know if we still need 4 sequels to Avatar, right? I mean, most people right now, if you talk to them and you say, Name 3 things that stand out to you in Avatar. Just name 3 character names, right? And you're like, okay, there's Jake Sully, because I said his name 100,000 times. There's Neytiri? Okay, yeah, okay. And then you remember Unobtainium, and then you're like Sigourney Weaver was in it, Giovanni Ribisi was in it, Michelle Rodriguez was in it. You can't remember their damn names. You remember the name Pandora because Pandora was kind of everywhere around that time, never mind the fact that it's still a popular streaming service for music. But ultimately, there's not a lot about the film that you're going to sit there and remember as its own, right? But he goes on to talk more about this here, saying Avatar was lightning in a bottle, and Cameron knows that trying to make it happen twice will be hard enough without playing it safe. And I do fear that he'll play it safe a little bit. But then again, well, let's see what he says here is, of course, we can't afford for it not to work. The budget level that we're dealing with, but of course, you always have to give yourself permission as an artist to fail no matter what the stakes are. You've got to try stuff. At least the least safe thing you can do is try to be safe, which again is true. But let's take a look here. Cameron's only done 1 sequel, and that 1 sequel was Terminator 2. And arguably, Terminator 2 is kind of like the go-to when you say, oh, well, in what franchise was the sequel better than the original? Terminator 2. I mean, visually speaking, his director ability, I thought was a lot better. Directorial ability, if I could talk today, was a lot better. And ultimately, I felt like he brought it on so many more levels. I cried at the end of Terminator 2 the first time. I saw the movie. When he went down and he, into the liquid metal and everything else, and then or the molten whatever the hell it was, and had the thumb up, and and you hear like dun 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 dun. I was like, I was bawling as a child. And I still love that movie to this day. I think it's great. So he didn't really play it safe there. He mixed it up. He changed it up. Brought back the bad guy as now the hero, and it worked really well. So will he be able to do that for not only Avatar 2, but 3, 4, and 5? Now, originally Avatar was pitched as like, Avatar 1 and then Avatar 2, 3, 4, and that was a new trilogy, and that was going to be setting everything up. But then he added in a 4th movie. So granted, he's had 8 years to work on this. I don't know if he'll be able to actually bring it home in terms of story, but it says when asked what he learned from the first movie and applying it to the sequels, he's really leaning into the fantastic imagery, really the only thing people tend to remember from the movie, which, as critical as that is, it's not wrong. Saying here, I think the lesson for me from the first film is that I've applied to the new films is the more fantastic the imagery, the more otherworldly, and the more you are pushing out to the edge of what's possible in terms of bringing imaginative imagery to the screen. The more it has to be grounded in the relationship, in truth, and in heart. And so I'm hopefully doing that in spades with these new films. Now, here's the thing. The technology from when Avatar was released to now, way better, right? Like, I was at Comic-Con 2009, and they showed us 22 minutes of Avatar in 3D in Hall H. Looked wonderful on those screens. I saw Avatar twice in IMAX 3D because of the imagery, because of how grandiose it was and how beautiful it was. And this one, I expect nothing less. But as I've gotten older, I've come to want more complete and complex stories. I want characters that I can dive into, that I can care about, which is one of the reasons why television is straight destroying movies these days, because they have time to craft these characters. When in movies like Avatar, yeah, well, it's probably going to be around 2.5 hours long, if not maybe a little bit longer. Are we going to get enough character development out of Sam Worthington for Jake Sully, or Zoe Saldana for Neytiri? I mean, ultimately, both people are good actors. I think Zoe Saldana is quite good. I liked her as as Gamora. I don't know why I blanked on that one. But then also Sam Worthington has gotten better since 2009. Watch him on the Unabomber, the Manhunt Unabomber on IDTV, and he's gotten better. He's seasoned himself. Hopefully we'll be able to bring that in. Now, he did talk about the casting process here, and he says that he's got an incredible cast. He's always very cognizant of the casting. I've worked very hard to cast this, to find some new young actors coming up that have incredible heart and that are just amazing. And apparently these are the kids right here. So what this tells me too, ultimately, is that Avatar is going to play to a specific strength, and that would be the young child audience. I have a feeling he's bringing in these younger people, these younger actors, as a way to make it more of a child's film series with insane imaginative imagery, as well as trying to appeal to the sci-fi fans or the sci-fi fantasy fans that enjoyed Avatar 1. So with any look, it won't be crap. I'm hoping it's not crap, but at the same time, I could be horrendously wrong.